in another week where we have college football games up and down the board that are just taking everybody by storm. Really great games. Oklahoma has yet to be a part of one of those really great games. We're going to have to break down Oklahoma Baylor. But before we do that, please go ahead, hit that like and the subscribe button. Let me know what you guys are thinking about the Sooners 38-35 loss to the Baylor Bears on Saturday. Okay, Oklahoma loses 38-35 to Dave Aranda and the Baylor Bears once again. Baylor has a 2-game winning streak against OU, now beating us at home, where last year they beat us, where a lot of Sooner fans remember, they beat us on that field goal that they called with 1 second, and it felt like eternity trying to get that game over. I believe last year the Baylor Bears beat us by 13, but it felt like that field goal was a dagger in the heart. And when you watch this game, there were a lot of really good things that you were like, okay, right? Dylan Gabriel connects on a huge pass with Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims had himself a day at 4 receptions, 120 yards, and 1 touchdown, with his longest being that 63-yard touchdown pass from Dylan Gabriel. Eric Gray went over another 100 yards again. But outside of that, there really weren't a whole lot of great things to look at. And when you look at the 38-35 score for the Oklahoma Sooners, uh, one, the score does not tell you the true story about just how I believe dominant OU was in this game outside of 3 turnovers. And that's the truth. Because 2 of those turnovers, if you look at them, one of them was a play where a Baylor defender was holding Braden Willis so he couldn't catch the ball. He tipped it, and a Baylor defender gets the ball as an interception. One before that one, it's another fluke play. And if you take those 2 away, that's 10 points off the board for Baylor. So it's 35-28 game right there. And quite honestly, you could say that Oklahoma might have scored on both of those drives, right? So you're looking at maybe a 48-28 game. And then all of a sudden, you're talking about a completely different story where maybe the Oklahoma Sooners offense just looked like they were clicking on all cylinders. And they go in there and put up 40 points on a Baylor team that was starting to get it together. But we're not talking about that headline today. We're talking about how Dylan Gabriel had 3 picks. And, maybe if you don't give one of those up, you win the game. And that's the truth. Oklahoma played this game really close with the Baylor Bears, had 3 turnovers, and still at the end of the day almost had a chance to win this game. But the story of it all comes back to the defensive side of the ball, where the run defense just can't get it together. They just can't. And we have lots of great guys on this team, but you have to wonder if they need longer than one offseason to be able to gel and mesh and understand the scheme that BV wants to run. Because you see a guy in Craig Williams have 25 carries for 192 yards and 2 touchdowns yesterday. And if I remember correctly, this is the same guy that probably could have had 3 touchdowns, because Baylor broke one long run off at the end of the game. And instead of scoring, he did the smart thing by sliding down in bounds to not give OU the ball back. Now, realistically, I think the game was probably over at that point with a 10-point lead, but you never know with an Oklahoma offense as explosive as this one can be. You really don't want to take that chance. You hold Richard Reese to 4 carries for 7 yards, and quite honestly, it to me looks like maybe he was hurt, because that's their guy at running back. But it comes down to the run defense, man. I mean, you did so well last week against Iowa State because that's what you knew you needed to focus on. And then you come into this game similarly needing to focus on the same thing, and you can't do it. And it's not like we don't have the talent there. That's not what I'm saying. You have guys like Jalen Redmond, Jeffrey Johnson, and Jeffrey Johnson's been in the league for a while. He knows how to play. Jordan Kelly. You have Ethan Downs, Reggie Grimes, or Mason Thomas, right? You have these guys, they know how to play. But you almost have to wonder if they needed longer than just one offseason with BV to be able to gel, mesh, and understand this scheme together. Danny Stutzman once again leads the team in tackles with 10. He had half of a tackle for loss. I mean, Danny Stutzman has really been, I think, the brightest spot on this Oklahoma defense this year. Really, he probably has. And Danny Stutzman still makes kind of a lot of mistakes. Now, this is, I would say, his first real year since, last year he was hurt. So I would say he's doing pretty well in his first real year at 77 total tackles throughout the year. But I know this isn't the defense that we thought this was going to be. And that's okay. I told you guys when I talked about my predictions of where I thought Oklahoma was going to land for the rest of the season, I would have loved for them to have won all of their games, 5 games. But I knew it was kind of unrealistic. And I said, your best scenario is probably to go 4-1. And I said, heaven forbid, I don't want you to drop another game at home. But look, they did. And you know what? You're coming up to a really bad West Virginia team, an Oklahoma State team that looks kind of depleted without Spencer Sanders. And then you're going to go play a Tech team who you should really just be able to out-talent and beat. Oklahoma should be able to build a lot of momentum here going forward. And they should really be able to go out there and show their force and be able to win some games and have a good start to the next season. And I think that's really what we need to be looking at. We really need to be looking at just developmental things on the defensive side of the ball going into the next season. We need to have something good to go off of. So, for the Oklahoma Sooners, it's as simple as this. You got to buckle down. You got to go to West Virginia, and you got to take care of business. You got to come home, and you got to beat Oklahoma State. And then you've got to go back on the road and end the season at Lubbock, right? The important thing here is win your next 3 games, become bowl eligible, get an extra month of practice, go play in your bowl game, have fun in it, and then retool, rekey, and figure out where you land next season, right? That's what I think the Sooners need to be doing. And for us as fans, we need to be able to be out there supporting them. We need to be out there supporting the staff. I know right now everybody's going to look at it and go, hey, Oklahoma is sitting at number 7 in the recruiting rankings. We're right below Texas. But hey, we're right there. And I still believe we get David Hicks and probably his buddy as well. It's going to be okay. I don't know if we land Peyton Bowen anymore. But if you land David Hicks, you land Akana, you land Sanford, you land Ashton Sanders and Khalil Barnes, I think you're doing okay. So Oklahoma fans, I know it sucks, but hey, we have a lot that we can build off of. And let's take a down year. Let's take a down year to just recollect, get this team back on track, and give BV time. Give BV time. He's the right guy for the job. So go ahead, jump down in the comments below. Let me know what you guys are thinking about the Oklahoma Sooners 38-35 loss to Baylor at home. And what is your guys' outlook for the rest of the season for the Oklahoma Sooners?